In Mexico, there is a word people still use as an insult. Malinchista. It means you love foreign things. You turned your back on your own people. That word is made from a woman's name. She was sold as a child. She was given to strangers as a gift. She learned their language faster than anyone thought possible. And for 500 years, her country has used her name to mean the worst thing a person can be. But while she was alive, no one ever called her a traitor.
Femme fatale histories. The women history called wicked, and what they actually did. Tonight, La Malinche. The enslaved girl who became the voice of the conquest of Mexico. And whose name became an insult, 300 years after she died.
Mexico, 1519. This is not one country yet. It is an empire, the Aztecs, and all the people they have beaten. The Aztecs rule from their capital, Tenochtitlan. The towns they conquer have to pay them cloth, feathers, cacao beans, and people, slaves, and women. In this world, a woman can be used like money. You give her away to make a deal. You hand her over to end a war. You sell her when you want her gone. The Spanish did not start this. It was already here. They just arrived and used it.
And they used it a lot, I'm guessing.
Fast. A year and a half after they land, they are already doing this. In 1520, in a town called Tepica, the Spanish take the people they have captured and burn a letter into their skin. G for guerra. The Spanish word for war. The king's tax men stand and watch, to take the king's share. The mark is proof. It says, this person is owned. A soldier named Bernal Diaz was there. He wrote down what the other soldiers did next. They complained. But not about the burning.
Then about what?
The night before, someone had quietly picked out the best-looking women and kept them aside. So when it was time to share the women out, the ordinary soldiers got, in his words, only the old and the ugly. That is what they complained about. Into this world, a girl is born. We do not know the name her parents gave her. We do not know exactly where. Somewhere on the Gulf Coast, on the line where one language, Nahuatl, meets another, Maya. That line will matter more than anything else about her. She was probably born into a ruling family. We can tell from how she spoke, a careful, high Nahuatl you did not learn in a field.
So she's highborn. And then?
And then she is a slave. How? We really don't know. The famous story is that her own mother sold her, and faked a funeral with another child's body, to give a half-brother her place. But that comes from one Spanish soldier, writing 50 years later. Historians treat it as just a story. Put it in the maybe pile. What we know for sure is where she ended up. By her teens, she belonged to Maya speakers in a town called Petitioned. And she had done the one thing that would decide her whole life. She had learned a second language.
2 languages. In 1519, that's not a skill. That's a weapon.
It is about to be. In March 1519, the lords of Petitioned lose a battle to the Spanish. So they pay them to go away. Food, gold, and 20 women. She is one of the 20.
20. What happened to the other 19?
Nothing happened to them. That is the point. 19 women were handed over that same morning. They walked into the same camp. And then they vanish from history completely. No names. No stories. Nothing. She is the only one we still know about. And the only reason is this: a few weeks later, someone noticed she could talk to the Aztec messengers in their own language. The Spanish already had a translator. A shipwrecked priest named Geronimo de Ogalar, who had lived for years among the Maya. But he could not speak Nahuatl, the language of the empire they were marching toward. She could. So every word had to travel down a chain. Nahuatl to Maya in her mouth. Maya to Spanish in his. Everything the two sides said to each other passed through a woman who was, on paper, someone's property.
Which means she could change anything she wanted.
Exactly. And everyone knew it. Then she did something. Within a year, she was speaking Spanish herself. The chain became one person. Her.
Hold on. Nobody told her to do that. Learning Spanish cut the priest out. That was her own choice.
It was. She was bought, given away, handed on, and married off by other people. This is the one thing, in the whole record, that she clearly did herself. Nobody ordered it. Nobody wrote it down as a command. She just stopped needing anyone else in the room.
Wait. A year? Nobody learns a language in a year in the middle of a war camp. Somebody taught her. Who?
Nobody wrote it down. That's the honest answer. The most important thing about her, and no one recorded how she did it. Here is what we do know. 400 men. A camp that marched, stopped, and waited for weeks. And one woman who needed what was in their mouths. Somewhere behind the baggage, a soldier said a word, and let her say it back. Night after night. Until she didn't need him.
And what was he getting out of it? Come on. Nobody is that kind at 2 in the morning.
We don't know that either. Anyone who says they do is guessing. What we know is that it worked. Benal Diaz watched her for 2 years. He wrote that she was an excellent woman who commanded absolutely among the Indians in all New Spain. Commanded. Not helped. Commanded.
Okay. So, the part everyone is waiting for. Cholula.
October 1519. Cholula. A holy city, a huge one, on the road to Tenochtitlan. In the Spanish story, a noblewoman of the city likes her. She warns her that the people of Cholula plan to kill the Spanish in their sleep, and offers to hide her. Malintzin keeps her face calm. Then she takes the warning straight to Cortes. What Cortes does next, he wrote down himself. In a letter to his king.
He wrote it down?
He wrote it down. He called the city's lords to him, saying he wanted to talk. And I shut them in a room by themselves. His men were already in place. He got on a horse and had a gun fired as the signal. We did such killing, he writes, that in 2 hours, more than 3,000 people had died. 3,000 is his own number. In his own report. Written to impress the king. Other Spaniards who were there said it was even higher.
And the plot? The one she supposedly uncovered?
Here is the hard part. The Aztec account says unarmed people were killed. A Spanish priest, Las Casas, said the people of Cholula were punished for no reason at all. And Spaniards at the time doubted the evidence. The trap was set before the lords were even called in. The warning that made it look justified only survives in the words of the men who needed an excuse. Maybe she uncovered a real plot. Or maybe she was written into one, later, by people who needed a reason. They reached Tenochtitlan in November. 200,000 people, in a city built on a lake. Bridges. Canals. A market so big it stunned men who had seen the great cities of Europe. 2 years later, it was rubble. What happened in between was a disease. Smallpox. It hit people who had never met it before, and had no defense. The Aztecs wrote down what it was like.
Do we have their words? Their actual words?
We do. They could no longer walk. They only lay in their beds. Many just died of hunger. There was no one left to care for anyone else. They did not only die of the disease. They died because everyone who could have brought them water was also sick on the floor.
And she is inside all this. Where is she, exactly?
Right next to him. Through the fighting, the retreat, the killing, the deals. In the picture books the native world drew afterward, she is not in the background. She is drawn big. and she is drawn talking. Around 1522, she had a son with Cortes. They named him Martin, after Cortes's father. Remember him?
Alright, I'll ask what everyone is already typing. Did she love him? Or was she just surviving him?
Nobody can answer that. Anyone who says they can is selling something. Here is what we can say. She was a woman who was owned. A person who is owned cannot say no. And a person who cannot say no cannot really say yes either. That is not a love story. That is a situation.
So what does he do with her, in the end?
In 1524, he took her on a long march to Honduras. And on that same march, he gave her to one of his own officers, Juan Jaramillo, as a wife.
Hold on. He has a son with her, and then hands her to one of his men? What is that, a thank you gift?
In a way, yes. It was a way of providing for her. She and Jaramillo were given land. A grant at Chapultepec in 1528, and later a garden that had once belonged to the Aztec emperor himself. She ended her life owning land, in the city she had helped take. Her son did not stay with her. Martin was sent to Spain, to be raised as his father's son. That is the last clear fact we have. She disappears from the records around the end of the 1520s. Everything after that is a guess. Now watch what happens to her name. Because for the next 300 years, nothing happens. Nothing bad, anyway.
Nothing? Hold on. This is a villainous episode. When does she actually become the villain?
She doesn't. Not yet. The Spanish who knew her called her Dona Marina, a title of respect she was not born with. Bernal Diaz fills pages with her and calls her a great lady. Her own family went further. Her daughter sued in a Spanish court for land, on the grounds of the great service her Indian mother performed for the Spanish crown. She won about half of it. Her grandson wrote to the king from Peru in 1592. The words he used for his grandmother were La Mar's principal conquistadora, the greatest conqueror. His complaint was not that she had betrayed anyone. It was that she had never been paid enough.
So the family's official line is, our grandmother helped conquer Mexico, and you still owe her.
In writing. To the king. For money. Yes, it's a request for cash, so of course it takes their side. But that is exactly the point. In 1592, the useful thing to say about La Malinche was that she was a conqueror. 300 years later, saying that would be unthinkable. So let's find the moment the story turns. Because someone built the traitor. And it was not the 16th century.
Let me guess. Men with pens.
Men with pens. And a new country that needed a story about itself. Mexico becomes independent in 1821. And it inherits an impossible question. What are we? Children of the conquered? Or of the conquerors? Both, in the same body, the same family. A nation needs a beginning. And this beginning is a wound. And the fastest way to live with a wound is to find someone to blame for it.
And they picked her.
First they picked a shape. In 1861, 40 years after independence, a writer named Ignacio Ramirez gave a speech. And he laid it out plainly. Every nation, he said, owes its ruin and its shame to one woman, and its salvation to another. The old story of Eve and Mary, over and over. Two women. One destroys the country. One saves it. Just slot them in.
And he puts her in the Eve slot.
He does. But here is the thing almost nobody knows. And it is the reason this episode exists. He never says her name. The woman in the Eve slot is only called La Barragana de Cortes, Cortes's mistress. Not Marina. Not Malintzin. Not La Malinche. And in the very same speech, when he wants to give the highest praise he can to a Mexican heroine, he calls her La Malintzin Immaculada, the pure, spotless Malintzin.
Wait. He used her name as a compliment?
In the same speech. In 1861, her name still meant a woman who mattered. The insult had not stuck to it yet. That happened later. And closer to us than you would like. A Mexican historian, Luis Barjau, traced the insult Malinchismo to the 1950s. It did not come from the countryside, or from native Mexico. It came from city intellectuals. His verdict on the whole idea that she was a traitor is one word: phantasmagoria. A ghost. Because, betrayal of what? There was no Mexico yet. There were rival kingdoms. And one of them had been taking her people as slaves. And one last voice. From the man most responsible for making her a symbol of shame. Octavio Paz turned her into the raped mother of Mexico. But he also wrote the line that undoes his own idea: to reject La Malinche is to break with the past, with everything that connects us to it. You cannot throw her away without throwing away where you came from. Which brings us to her son. To Martin.
The one sent to Spain.
The one sent to Spain. He grew up there. He was made a knight. And he came back to Mexico a gentleman, the mixed-race son of the conqueror and the interpreter. In 1566, the Spanish authorities decided there was a plot among the landowners of Mexico City. Was there really? Even people at the time doubted it. It did not matter. Men were arrested. 2 brothers were beheaded in the public square. And on the 7th of January, 1568, they took Martin down into the cellars under the government building.
What did they do to him?
They stripped him. They tied his arms together and pulled the ropes tight. Then they gave him the water, a jar forced down his throat, again and again. The record repeats the word at least 6 times. He told them nothing. He named no one. What the clerk wrote down, in his own voice, was this: I have told the truth and I have nothing more to say. In the most holy name of God, have pity on me. I will say no more, until I die. They stopped before mid-morning, because of the state he was in. Outside, a writer of the time says, guards had been placed to hold the streets. Because people could hear the screaming.
God. And then he saves himself with his mother's name? Of all the things he could have reached for.
12 days later, standing in front of the men who had done it, he made his defense. And his defense was his mother. He told the court that Dona Marina had been the main reason that Mexico was won for Spain. Her son, on the floor of a Spanish cellar, the rope marks still fresh on his arms, saving his own life by reminding the empire what his mother had done for it. And it worked, in the smallest way. They did not kill him. They ordered him to leave the Americas forever.
So the last thing her name is used for, while it still meant her, is keeping her son alive.
And 400 years later, the same name is what you call a Mexican who likes foreign things. We don't know what she looked like. We don't know her birth name, or exactly where she was born, or when she died, or where she is buried. What we know is this: 2 worlds could not talk to each other without her. And both of them, afterward, needed her to be the reason it all went wrong. She is not the only one. Put 4 women next to her, one from each of 4 centuries, and the same shape appears every time. Peru, the 1530s. Quispe Sisa was the daughter of the Inca emperor. She was handed to the conquistador Francisco Pizarro, learned to speak for him, and had his children. Her own people remembered whose side she had helped. Virginia, 1616. Pocahontas was young when she was turned into proof that the English and her father's people could live together. She was baptized, given a new name, shipped to London, and painted in stiff English clothes. She died at 21, still in England. The only portrait drawn from life shows an English lady. The Mohawk Valley, the 1770s. Molly Brant ran a British officer's house, had 8 of his children, and held her people's loyalty to the British with her own hands. The Crown paid her for it. Her own side called it something else. Tasmania, the 1830s. Truganini walked ahead of a government mission, talking her people into coming in, because she believed it would keep them alive. It did not. People still argue about her name today.
4 different centuries. 4 different parts of the world. And every one of them ends up taking the blame.
Because a woman who stands between 2 worlds only has a job while both worlds are still standing. The moment one side loses, she is not a translator anymore. She becomes the reason they lost.
She was sold twice before she was 20. And she became the one person 2 empires could not talk without. For that, her country turned her name into an insult, 300 years after she died, by men who mostly never even said the name. Next time on Femme Fatale Histories, another woman history called Wicked. Until then, Mexico calls her the mother of a nation, and its greatest traitor. Which one is she to you? Tell me below. And be honest. What would you have done? At 17, owned, with 2 languages in your mouth, and no way home.